Check.
You got the power of the spirit.
Yeah. Say hi to Daryl.
Deb knows that.
I'll remind you.
Okay.
Good morning. Welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Church of, I got my amen section over here. Welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Church of Spokane, where our mission is to join together to create a nourishing, liberal, religious home and to champion justice, diversity, and environmental stewardship in our wider world, or as we say in short, to create community, find meaning, and work for justice. Welcome to one and all. Got a few announcements this morning before we take time to greet one another, but I do want to begin by pointing out that our unity candle is lit at the front of our sanctuary, which is something we do here at our church when one of our members has passed away during the week. We learned last week that Haroldine Richardson passed away. Haroldine is not someone who's been able to be very active for a number of years, but I know there are a number of you here that remember when she was a vibrant and active part of this community, so we want to light our candle in her memory. While I'm at it, I'll let you know that there is a memorial service scheduled for her next Saturday, the 13th, at Heritage Funeral Home at 9 a.m. So if we can just take a moment of silence in honor of Haroldines' life and light. Thank you. I've also been asked to remind you that we have a Circle Suppers program. This is an opportunity for folks to join small potluck groups that meet at different members' homes once a month for 2 or 3 months in order to get to know one another better in a fun way. If you want to sign up to participate in some of these social opportunities, or even to become a host for a Circle Supper, you can do so at one of our tables in the back after service, and I think Ann Scott will probably be there. I saw her earlier. Where are you, Ann? Did you leave? She was here the first service. Well, somebody will be there. If not, just write some graffiti on the table and we'll know. And also another reminder that next Friday, the 12th, Roy Zimmerman, who is just an incredible musician, singer, songwriter, comedian, and most importantly, I think for us, political satirist, who gives us lots of great cathartic medicine with his fresh songs every time he comes. So I hope you'll be here for Roy Zimmerman. If you've not heard him, just go to YouTube and type in Roy Zimmerman, and you'll get to hear some of the stuff he sings. But he will be here again next Friday for a concert that begins at 7:30. And as we did last year, Peggy and I are going to sponsor a burger and dog cookout here on the church premises prior to that, beginning at 6 o'clock. All of that comes with the price of a ticket, which is $22. So if you want to purchase a ticket, you can also do so after our service at a table in the back. You can purchase tickets at the door, but it'd be nice to kind of have a head count so we know how much food to plan for. But if you miss it, you're gonna feel left out, because when you come to church the next Sunday, everybody's gonna be talking about, "Were you at the Roy Zimmerman concert?" "No." "Oh, how about you? You at that?" "Oh, that was great, wasn't it?" So you missed it, and you're going because you're tired of feeling ashamed, right? Everybody knows what you're talking about. And, yeah. Thank you, Cindy.
It's this Friday.
It's this Friday.
Yes.
This Friday.
It's not next Friday. This Friday.
For those who remember the infamous Seinfeld episode, this is a constant argument in our house as to whether it's this side. See, I think until Wednesday it is next Friday, but after that it becomes this Friday. So, but
Why don't you say the date?
Friday, April 12th. Friday, April 12th, to clear up any confusion. I lost a job that way one time. Showed up on the wrong this. That's true. That's a true story. So, last but not least, in fact, I think the most important thing I want to mention before we greet one another is that this is the kickoff Sunday of our annual generosity campaign, in which we seek pledges to help us budget for the coming year, which is always just a lot of fun. It's a great time to celebrate what we've accomplished the past year and also dream about what we're going to accomplish together during the coming year. And you'll be able to pick up your pledge packet at our table in the fellowship hall. Francis is waving to you back there now. There's a sign up back there by the windows, so be sure and stop back there after service and pick up your pledge packet, if you will. And it is going to explain why we're using kind of the theme that this year is different. And then I'm going to talk a little bit about why it's different in my sermon as well. So yeah, I hope that you will take the opportunity to do that. If you don't have a pledge packet or are a friend of the church but not necessarily a member, and you want to help us support our congregation, it's always encouraged and appreciated, because we have people that have been part of this church for many years, never signed our membership book, but have been informal members of the congregation. So anybody who wants to give, it's okay. It's okay, we don't mind. So just talk with our friends at our generosity table after our service. But for now, let's take time to talk to each other for just a couple of more minutes, because that's also an important part of our service. As always, I hope you'll say hi to those that you look forward to seeing each Sunday. Make some new friends today, and if you are joining us more recently or for the first time, please don't be shy. We're so glad that you're here. Thank you so much, and I hope that you will again stay around after our service for our social hour and everything else that's going on there. But for now, let's move forward by lighting our chalice, the symbol of our faith, the symbol of our unity and our solidarity, of our openness and our inclusion, of our community and our individual uniqueness. May this small flame be our offering of warmth to those who are cold and alone, and a light to those in darkness. May it be a flame that ignites justice in our world and a beacon of hope to those in need, and may it reflect at least a spark of truth wherever truth has been lost, and cast a healthy shadow of doubt wherever it's been found.
Our opening words this morning come from a 1999 essay entitled "The Liturgy of Abundance, The Myth of Scarcity by Walter Brueggemann. The Bible starts out with a liturgy of abundance. Genesis 1 is a song of praise for God's generosity. It tells how well the world is ordered. It keeps saying, "It is good, it is good, it is good, it is very good." It declares that God blesses, that is, endows with vitality, the plants and the animals and the fish and the birds and humankind, and it pictures the Creator as saying, "Be fruitful and multiply." In an orgy of fruitfulness, everything in its kind is to multiply the overflowing goodness that pours from God's Creator Spirit. And as you know, the creation ends in Sabbath. God is so overrun with fruitfulness that God says, "I've got to take a break from all this. I got to get out of the office." Later in Genesis, God blesses Abraham, Sarah, and their family. God tells them to be a blessing, to bless people of all nations. Blessing is the force of well-being active in the world, and faith is the awareness that creation is the gift that keeps on giving.
Much of our music today is actually pointed toward the fact that we were having a new member ceremony this morning, which is always an exciting thing to do. And so the music is in honor of those new members coming in, but it's also, it applies to the rest of you who have been older members now, but you too once came into this congregation. So be aware of the music, and this first hymn applies to it. We're going to sing 346, "Come Sing a Song With Me," and we are going to substitute the word springtime for the word wintertime in this hymn, since we're having spring. So please stand as you're willing and able to sing "Come Sing a Song With Me."
Good morning. Nice to see everyone here. I want to invite all the young and young at heart who want to join me up here. Welcome. morning. Hello. Oh, look at all these great kiddos. All right, I have a question for you and for all of us. The question is, have you seen kids at school be unkind to each other? A lot. And adults, do you remember this from growing up at school? See unkindness, bullying? Yes. How about anyone ever wish you could go back and do things differently because maybe we could have been kinder? Yes. That's the benefit of getting older. We get a little bit wiser and hopefully a little bit kinder. Well, when I was growing up, the unkindness was usually in the playground. It was sometimes in the classroom when the teacher wasn't looking. Sometimes it was on the bus. Sometimes it was walking home from school. And nowadays, unkindness has actually gotten really bad because people are using their phones to be mean to each other. And play dates, that's right. So people are using their phones to send messages to each other or to write things about each other that are unkind. And then people see those things and they feel really hurt, really bad. Well, in a high school not far away in Washington State, this was about 3 years ago, all the kids came to school and suddenly a mysterious thing happened. An Instagram account appeared, and the account was called the Benevolent One 3. Benevolent One, that was the name of it. Benevolent means someone who wants to do good things. It's like well-wishing. So this mysterious account showed up, and all of a sudden, instead of mean things being posted about kids, nice things were being posted. So every single day for the entire year, a photo would be pictured, a photo of someone in the school, and it would have a really nice thing about that person. Like, you have the best smile, you're always so kind to people, you are so funny, I love the way you make us laugh. And then the next day it'd be another photo of someone else and be like, wow, you are so good at football, or you are amazing in math class, I'm so glad that we have someone like you to help other people. So all of a sudden, all these kids were being highlighted, and kids that didn't normally get a lot of attention. These were not the cheerleaders and the most popular people who were getting attention. These are just kids that no one really knew very well. And guess what? In 43 weeks, so basically the whole year, all 657 kids were posted about. So every single kid in this high school had something nice that was said about them. And everyone's going, who is it? Who could be doing this? And they're all trying to guess. Well, it turned out it was a young man named Connor Save, and he was the valedictorian, so he graduated with really high honors. And he revealed that he had been the one posting these kind things. And someone said, well, why did you do this? What made you do it? And actually, there were a lot of articles that were written about it, because people were so stunned that there's a high school student who's writing kind things about someone. And he said, I just wanted people to feel valued and appreciated, and to know that even if you make mistakes, even if things aren't going very well in school, people still see the good in you. There's still good in us. So here's a question I have for all of you. Does kindness cost us anything? Does it cost us anything? No. Do you ever run out of it? Do you ever say like, oh, I'm out of kindness? You do? Sometimes to mom and dad, maybe we run out of kindness. Maybe. Sometimes moms and dads to our kids, sometimes we run out of kindness. It doesn't cost a thing. It's always in abundance. It's always in abundance. So my question for all of you today is, how might you show kindness, especially to someone who may really need it? How may we all do the same? Thank you so much. Thanks for listening. Sophia?
Yeah. We light this second chalice so that as our children and youth go to their chapels, they carry the light of our flame with them. May it illuminate, inspire, and warm you as it does us.
It is now the time of our service when we welcome the new members of our congregation. And again, this is a moment for us to all reflect on what brought us here to our church, whether we were raised in the UU church or whether we stumbled upon it in our adulthood. Whatever that may be, it gives us great pleasure to be able to bring new people to this table, people who can join our congregation. So with that, we'd like to invite all of our new members forward. And if you'd like, you can bring your green insert with you, or if not, we have some for you. So we welcome you to the front. So at this time, we would like to ask each of our new members who went through two classes, classes in which they learned about the UU history from Todd, they learned about our 7 principles, they engaged in really rich conversations about faith and the values, and we're going to ask them now to each introduce themselves by saying their name.
Hi, I'm Shane Gronholtz. This is Max, and I just want to mention that I'm also here for my wife, Stephanie. She's at a youth retreat, so she's not here, but I'm here on her behalf.
I'm Jane Harper. My name is Jennifer Calvert.
I'm Janelle Smith.
Ivan Smith.
I'm Pam Adams.
I'm Sarah Mitchell, and I just had some kids go to RE.
I'm Linda Clark.
I'm Mike Smith.
I'm Ann Wanger.
Mike Wanger. John Hancock.
Thank you all. Welcome. I want to say on a personal note, of course, we have some formal part of our ritual, but just on a personal note, how honored I am, and I know our entire community is, to have each of you. I always think it is astounding that people think enough of our community to want to join it, and that's not something to laugh about. It's really an honor that you lend yourselves to this community. So thank you so much for being willing to sign our membership book and to be part of us. Really mean that. So we are honored that you have chosen to become members of our church, having found a connection with Unitarian Universalism and expressed your commitment to this community. Membership at the Unitarian Universalist Church of Spokane is both a privilege and a responsibility. It's a place we hope that you will feel safe to explore your own path, yet feel a sense of belonging and support. Amazing how we manage to balance that line, isn't it? We look forward to our work together in fulfilling the mission of this church and to the many gifts of support that you bring to us. You are about to sign our membership book as a symbol of your place among us. As we now welcome you individually, we seal this covenant with the rose you've received, symbolizing our hope that you will fully bloom in your new church home, even if you get poked by a few thorns. And now I'll allow you to respond with the words written in your green sheet.
We embrace membership in this church
as both a gift and a commitment. May our strands of connection grow ever stronger, day by day and year by year, as we join with you in creating a nourishing community and a more just world.
Thank you, and I'm going to ask that our congregation now turn to number 442 in your gray hymnal. And this is an opportunity for you to just stand and listen as our congregation reads this, and I know in a heartfelt way of welcome. We bid you welcome who come with weary spirit seeking rest.
Who come with troubles that are too much to do. Who come hurt and afraid.
We bid you welcome who come with hope in your heart.
Who come with anticipation in your step. Who come proud in joy
We bid you welcome who are seekers of a new faith.
Who come to grow and explore, who come to learn.
We bid you welcome who enter this hall as a homecoming.
Who have found here room for your spirit, who find in this people a family.
Whoever you are, whatever you are, wherever you are on your journey,
we bid you welcome.
Just want to add a few more things. There are 3 additional members who joined our church recently, and they are Mary Lou Lewis, Jody Severs, and Hugh Severs. We just want to add, on behalf of the Path to Membership team, we encourage all of you to join us in some cake to celebrate the new members. So please join us in the back table after service. So we hope that you'll enjoy that. Thank you so much.
yes, and And my script says that I should say thank you all. Please take your place among us. But actually, this is your opportunity to actually sign our membership book. So while you're doing that, I think Deb is going to lead us in a congregational song. Welcome once again.
We are going to sing 1008, When Our Heart is in a Holy Place. And I think you can remain seated for this one and observe our new members. Okay, go ahead.
We now gratefully give and receive this morning's offering, which sustains this church and its mission to the wider world.
Thank you. We'll now kindle our candles of care for those who are most on our hearts and minds. I did not receive any specific requests for candles, but in light of those stories about the African American churches that were recently suspiciously burned down in a Louisiana parish, I want to kindle a candle for African American citizens of this country everywhere who are potential victims of terrorist attacks, and a candle for those neighbors who are children of this continent wanting to come north for a better life to their rightful homeland, who are treated as terrorists. So let's take a moment of silence on behalf of others you might be thinking of, and as always, you're welcome to name them aloud at this time if you'd like. Those named aloud and those embraced in our silence, and all those who are suffering in our world at this hour, we hold in our community with compassion.
the time in our service where we pause for a few moments of meditation and silence. So I invite you to make yourself comfortable as you wish. Close your eyes if you'd like. Take a breath. The words to take us into meditation this morning are from Tim Haley. Amid all the noise in our lives, we take this moment to sit in silence, to give thanks for another day, to give thanks for all those in our lives who have brought us warmth and love, to give thanks for the gift of life. We know we are on our pilgrimage here but a brief moment in time. Let us open ourselves, here, now, to the process of becoming more whole, of living more fully, of giving and forgiving more freely, of understanding more completely the meaning of our lives here on earth.
We are met together, and in meeting we are blessed. Peace in coming and in going, peace in labor and in rest. We are met together, we are blessed. Peace in coming and in going, peace in labor and in rest. We are met together, meeting, we are blessed. Peace in coming and in going, peace in labor and in rest. Hold on, dear brother, hold on, dear sister, hold on to me. Hold on to me. Hold on to me. We are met together, meeting, we are blessed. Peace in coming and in going, peace in labor and in rest. You're not alone, you're not alone, and you never mourn with me. I will be with you, and I will carry you with me. Friendship endures, and surely we will prove it's not ourselves, but our bodies that move. We are met together, we are blessed. Peace in coming and in going, peace in labor and in rest. We are met together, we are blessed. Peace in coming and in going, peace in labor and in rest. Hold on, dear brother, hold on, dear sister, hold on to me. Hold on to me.
Thank you. I promised to get you out of here by 1. No, just kidding. I want to start with a story today. It begins with once upon a time, like all good stories do. Once upon a time, there was an emperor who valued his silver and gold more than almost anything else. But one day, a wizard who had used his magic of alchemy to create a new kind of metal, shinier than silver and more precious than gold, presented it as a gift to his imperial lord. The wizard explained that he'd used his magic to pull the exotic metal out of ordinary clay using a spell known only to himself. But the gift did not make the emperor happy, for he feared that if others knew of this rare new metal, all the gold and silver that he had amassed during his various war victories might become worthless. So he ordered the wizard be immediately taken away and executed before anyone could learn his secret. If this sounds like the gruesome end to one of the Brothers Grimm's nightmarish fairy tales, it is not. In fact, it is no fairy tale at all. It is a true story. Originally told by Pliny the Elder, a 1st century Roman historian. The emperor was Tiberius, more infamously known as Julius Caesar. The wizard was his goldsmith, and the metal he extracted was, you know what it was? What? Aluminum. Who said aluminum? Please come to the head of the class. Aluminum, which at the time was the most abundant, but also the most unobtainable metal on Earth. It's estimated that there is twice the amount of aluminum in the Earth's crust than there is iron. But after the beheading of Caesar's goldsmith, the secret to its extraction remained unknown for nearly 2,000 years. It was so rare, in fact, that only 150 years ago, another emperor and conqueror, Napoleon Bonaparte of France, had a set of aluminum utensils he used only for his most honored guest. His ordinary guest had to settle for tableware made of gold. It was considered so precious then that the French displayed aluminum bars next to their crown jewels. And the United States topped the Washington Monument with it in 1884. Just 2 years later, however, engineers discovered that they could easily and cheaply extract this elusive metal by simply sending a direct electrical current into its ore, a process known as electrolysis. By 1888, Alcoa, the world's largest aluminum manufacturer, was producing 50 pounds a day. And as a Slate.com series of articles on elements, all the elements explained just a few years ago, within 20 years it had to ship about 88,000 pounds per day just to meet demand. As production soared, prices plummeted. In the mid-1800s, the first aluminum ingots on the market went for $550 per pound. 50 years later, not even adjusting for inflation, it cost 25 cents for the same amount. Today, this cheap metal still rests atop the Washington Monument. But you don't have to be an emperor's most favored guest to eat from it. Just stop off at any convenience store, buy a can of pop, and toss it away, or hopefully recycle it when you're done. It's so abundant that instead of reserving it for royal cutlery or for accompanying the crown jewels, we now make entire airplanes out of aluminum. Inspired by a Star Trek film, a few years ago, the Cermet Corporation even invented transparent aluminum for the Star Trek fans among us. that's harder than sapphire, an inch of which will stop a 50 caliber bullet better than 6 inches of bulletproof glass. That's still expensive to manufacture, but there are already plans to replace the International Space Station windows with it to prevent them from scratching. In time, like aluminum cans, this lightweight material is expected to become so abundant and affordable that it will replace most uses for glass. Can you imagine scratch-proof glasses? Or car windows that can't be chipped, scratched, or smashed? In the meantime, the once rare and precious metal already has many valuable uses and has become so abundant that today, as entrepreneur Naveen Jain puts it, we throw away aluminum cans. You can't pay people to recycle them. The moral of this story, in addition to emperors being jerks with misplaced values, is that it's possible for things once scarce to suddenly become abundant with just a little ingenuity. Ingenuity, by the way, means thinking about things in a new way. It means getting creative. It means not dwelling on what we don't have, but about what we have to do to have what we want. Oddly, it's often those who most have to live with scarcity that are the best at creating abundance, at making something out of nothing. Need leads to desire, desire to creativity, and creativity to abundance. Several years ago, for example, Peggy and I tried a vegan diet, at which point some of our most favorite foods, especially desserts, became scarce. Because there are hardly any desserts that don't include milk, eggs, and butter, at least the good ones. So Peggy, who is the baker in our family, did some research and learned how to make some of the moistest, richest, most delicious cakes that I've ever had. And vegan desserts are still a favorite in our home because they often taste better than those loaded with truthfully unhealthy animal products. But the truth is, just a couple generations ago, some of our grandparents were making the same kind of desserts. You remember this, some of you? Not because they wanted to avoid dairy or eggs, but because they became scarce during the Great Depression and World War II. They didn't call them vegan cakes back then, but gave them more sardonic nicknames like depression cakes, or war cakes, or simply poor man's cake. Sugar was also scarce back then, so they learned to sweeten things with syrups and boiling raisins. The point is, instead of giving up and saying, sorry, no more desserts, the necessary ingredients are just too expensive and in short supply, they got creative and found a way to still have their cake and eat it too. There's a large pyracantha bush across the street from my house that looks red throughout most of the winter because it stays covered with clusters of small red berries. But midway through the season, when other food sources become scarce, the deer resort to eating them. And by the time they're done, the bottom half of the bush is green, but the top half, which they can't reach, remains red. It appears as if a straight line has been drawn across the circumference of this bush. In a time of scarcity, which is what winter is, deer are a species that must literally settle for the low-hanging fruit. And by the time it's gone, they can only hope spring is on its way. But our species doesn't have to settle for the low-hanging fruit. We have the smarts to make stepladders, to construct cherry pickers, and build rockets that can carry us into the heavens where there are more stars than we can possibly grasp. What we're differentiating between here is two mindsets, one of scarcity and one of abundance. One mindset says there's not enough, and that's all there is to it. The other says there's not enough, let's solve the problem. The latter doesn't mean living beyond our means. It doesn't mean using more resources than we need or that are available. But it also doesn't mean just settling for the way things are. This is why my least favorite saying attributed to Jesus is, "The poor will always be with you." Over the years, I've heard many people use this verse to justify doing nothing about poverty. It makes poverty sound like it's ordained by God. But why should we settle for poverty? Or take it for granted the poor are just a part of life and there's nothing we can do about it? I much prefer the Jesus who talked about having enough for today, our daily bread, but did so with a mindset of abundance, not scarcity. Don't worry about packing your coffers with more than you need, because there's always more than enough to go around. Look at the birds of the air. They always have plenty to eat. And at the flowers that are clothed more splendidly than the wealthiest of kings. There can be more than enough to go around for everyone if we think creatively. I came that they may have life and that they may have it abundantly, Jesus is also reported to have said. My own mindset on this was challenged recently when reading Naveen James' book Moonshots, subtitled Creating a World of Abundance. Jane writes, abundance is different from the idea of sustainability. We have to create more of what we need rather than consume less of what we have. Sustainability is a synonym for conservation of scarce resources, and you cannot achieve sustainability with conservation alone. At first, as an environmental activist, I was bothered by this. I can still remember the time many years ago now I heard theologian Matthew Fox say there's a new word for justice, sustainability, even before most of us started using the term. Since justice is synonymous with balance and harmony, I've considered it, or sustainability, that is, a kind of justice toward the earth ever since. But I don't think sustainability means living within our means. It means not taking more than we need, not more than our daily bread, especially not at the expense of others and the environment. In this sense, sustainability and abundance work together. There's no sense making pigs of ourselves, even when we do have more than enough, and there's also no sense settling for poverty or hunger or homelessness or unclean drinking water or polluted oceans and unclean air when we can create ways to make sure that everyone has enough of everything they need to survive. Just like making the once rarest metal on Earth the planet's most abundant metal on Earth. We must do so because living strictly within our means means billions of people will still have to live in poverty. Realizing, for example, the age of cheap oil is rapidly coming to an end. Abu Dhabi, in the United Arab Emirates, one of the oil-richest nations on the planet, is building the world's first entirely green energy city, Masdar. Unlike the U.S., which is trying to preserve this deadly and dying industry that's polluting, destroying, and impoverishing our own country while making other countries and corporations rich beyond measure, one of those very countries is recognizing the handwriting on the wall. Hence, Masdar will be completely solar, leave no carbon footprint at all, consume no fossil fuels, be bicycle and pedestrian friendly, home to 50,000 people with another outside number of 40,000 workers. Jay Witherspoon, the technical director for the $20 billion project, which is now scheduled to be completed in the mid-2020s, says it's based on the principle of OPL, One Planet Living. One Planet Living, a global initiative begun by Bioregional Development and the World Wildlife Fund, recognizes that we're currently using 30% more resources than our Earth can replace. According to the book Abundance by Peter Diamandis and Stephen Kotler, OPL understands that if everyone on this planet wanted to live with the lifestyle of the average European, we would need 3 planets worth of resources to pull it off. If everyone on this planet wanted to live the lifestyle of the average North American, then we'd need 5 planets to pull it off. So even now, there's not enough to go around. We can conserve resources, and should, but this will only bring the quality of life down for some, not up for most. This is why an abundance mindset must also be included in the solution. Continuing with the topic of energy, for example, we've been using a limited supply of dirty coal and oil for 200 years. It made some people and companies financially rich, some countries energy rich, but has been ruining the planet for all of us in the process. But even our pre-industrial, pre-scientific ancestors knew that it was really our sun that gives us both life and energy. Yet even today, in our industrial and scientific age, 90% of our total energy use, about 16 trillion watts a year, comes from non-renewable resources. But there's 5,000 times that much solar energy annually reaching the Earth's surface. Again, as Abundance says, it's not an issue of scarcity, it's an issue of accessibility. So what if instead of strictly reducing our energy consumption, we find a way to better utilize a tiny fraction of the energy of life our life-giving sun bathes us with every day, making it as affordable and available as aluminum foil? The same mindset can be applied to clean drinking water. With few exceptions, like Michigan, Flint, Michigan, most of us living in North America don't have to worry about the water we drink. But according to the United Nations, more than 2 billion people around the world lack access to safe water. Each year, unsafe water kills 340,000 children under the age of 5. And water scarcity impacts 4 out of 10 people every day. Meanwhile, 70% of our water resources go into agriculture, mostly feeding cows. 75% of the water used in industry is used for energy production. And 80% of the polluted wastewater, their polluted wastewater, I should say, goes right back into our ecosystem. All of this represents a serious problem, given that potable drinking water is one of our planet's rarest, scarcest resources. Although our planet is mostly water, 97% of it is undrinkable salt water. 2% of what's left is frozen in glaciers and ice caps or stored so deep underground that it's out of our reach. That leaves only 1% of the water on Earth for us to drink, if we're lucky enough to access it and guarantee that it's clean and safe. Sounds pretty scary. And a scarcity mindset says conserve what we can, purify what we can for those countries that can afford it, but the rest must go without, which is today's status quo. The thirsty shall always be with you. But what if instead we start looking at the problem through the lens of abundance? Instead of looking at water as a scarce resource, recognize that it is the most abundant resource on earth. It's the most abundant resource in the universe. It's the first and most abundant element, hydrogen, from the Greek word meaning water maker. So again, let's learn the lesson of aluminum by continuing to improve our methods of desalination so that we can drink water right from our overflowing oceans, as well as providing plenty of clean, green energy to industry while purifying the fresh water on our planet in the process. We don't have to settle for the low-hanging fruit here. We can climb Mount Everest. We can reach for the stars. But this isn't just about the proper care of our planet. The mindset of abundance can also be applied to how each of us lives our lives. We can look at life through the lens of scarcity or through the lens of abundance. And some might say that's just my North American white privilege talking. But I grew up living in poverty, and have lived in poverty much of my life. But growing up, I never knew it, because scarcity itself left me thinking creatively and innovatively. I'd pull bent, rusty nails from old boards, pound them straight, then use both the nails and the boards to build my forts. I didn't have a bicycle, but I'd attach wheels I found or from old toys to 2x4s that I used as axles, attach them to a long 2x4 as my frame, nailed a flat board across it as a seat, used a rope as my steering wheel, and a worn-out sneaker as my front brake. And down the hill I'd race with the best go-kart a kid could hope for. I remember that my mother, who tried to compensate for our lack by always baking sweets to eat, sometimes didn't have enough in the house to even do that. So on occasion, when she was desperate, she'd make my favorite treat of them all. She'd mix flour and water together with a little lard to make a basic dough, roll it out, sprinkle a little cinnamon on it if she had it, roll it up, slice it into small pieces, bake them, then cover them with whatever sugary glaze she could come up with. I absolutely loved them. I used to beg her to make them, but she seldom would, and wouldn't say why. And when I got older, I realized it's because she was embarrassed. Those treats reminded her of how poor we really were. But for me, they were the stuff of fortresses and of go-karts and of all the riches of my childhood. I bring all of this up today, the kickoff of our annual Church Pledge campaign, for two reasons. Firstly, as with all my sermons, I want it to be a rich experience for you. I want you to take something from my words that you can apply to your life and make it a little better, or at least cause you to think about things a little differently. Secondly, because I want us to look at our next church year through this lens of abundance. Instead of wishing that we could do more if we had more, let's be even more creative and innovative in how we do things. A couple of days ago, for example, I was talking with my friend John Hancock when the old story of the fellow who met that challenge of breaking a thick bundle of sticks in half, remember that, by untying them and breaking them one at a time, came up. It got me to thinking that the reverse is also true, that one by one we can make a bundle. And that's why this year is different. Instead of alternating between our two usual strategies, of one year asking everyone to give as much as you can afford, and the next year asking you to increase that amount, which is neither sustainable nor reasonable. We're asking everyone who can to increase your pledge by at least $20 a month. Some may be able to give more, some not as much, but my guess is most of us can afford to do this much, which together, one stick at a time, will add up to nearly $60,000 more than we tend to make during our pledge campaigns. It's also a strategy that shows how abundance happens when everyone contributes just a little bit to their community. It's the stone soup model of community. When everyone gives a little something, we're able to turn rocks into feast, flour and water into delicacies, old boards and bent nails into race cars and fortresses, low-hanging fruit into moonshots, sunlight into energy, salt water into fresh water, and a few extra bucks a month into a rich and vibrant church ministry. This year, let's look at our church through the lens of abundance. Let's look at the world through the lens of abundance. Let's look at our lives through the lens of abundance so that together we can unlock the riches, all that both heaven and earth have laid at our feet. Thank you.
Well, there's an abundance hymn in our hymnal that I really like. We haven't used it a great deal, but I think it's a great one for today. It's number 19, The Sun That Shines, and I would invite you to rise as you're willing and able to sing it with me.
Our closing words this morning are from Wendell Berry. The world cannot be discovered by a journey of miles, no matter how long, but only by a spiritual journey, a journey of 1 inch, very arduous and humbling and joyful, by which we arrive at the ground at our feet and learn to be at home. Amen. Blessed be. Assalamu alaikum. Shalom.
Shalom.